Hey everyone, how's it going? First of all, I just have to commend you. Whoever submitted audience questions, you guys did a great job. This is going to make everything really easy for me. I'm Leanne Aguilera from Entertainment Tonight, and I'm so thrilled that you all could join us for the You panel for SAG-AFTRA Foundation. We have a lot to chat with this amazing cast about, so let's just bring them right out here. Please help me welcome Penn Badgley, who plays Joe. Elizabeth Lail as Beck. And the one and only John Stamos as Dr. Nikki.
There we go.
I shaved today. Nice to meet you all.
Hey.
So just so that you guys are aware, they just watched episode 107, which is going to be airing on October 21st. So you guys got a very deep sneak peek. How does it feel? You guys have been doing so much press this entire run of the show, but now fans have actually seen the show. They're seeing how deliciously dark and twisted it is. What has the fan response been like for you so far?
I haven't been on yet. They don't know me. Are people afraid of you, Penn, when they see you?
No, I mean that's not the experience I've had. It's. I've only murdered one person so far. Oh no, I don't think. I just gave something away. Yeah, I've not. No, I have. I've murdered one person. So, I'm not sure that I've been able to detect a shift yet, but I think people have. How does one gauge a fan response? Because I don't.
Everyone has a different experience of it.
Well, Penn, with most actors, they would have social media, but I know that you're a little bit averse to that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Is the fan? So if like 5 people tweet at me and say like, "Oh, you're creepy AF" on this show, is that the fan response? Like, okay, then that's the response I've gotten, which is like, "Ooh, creepy but sexy," you know. And it makes it sound like I'm modulating my voice like it's a young woman. That's not what I'm saying. It's actually that tends to be the reaction, is that I'm very creepy, and because of the way I look, I suppose also charming.
So you're perfect for this role because you really do. You don't get turned off to him too soon. I loved working with both of them, and especially I was talking to Penn through all of it because it's very difficult to pull a character off like this and make him likable, make you want to watch him and sort of see from his point of view. And also you'll see throughout that he doesn't stay in one place, and she's just perfect because she's like doe-eyed and sort of innocent, but yet she's super smart and she's on to these guys, and you'll see it gets real twisty. Right?
Yeah, well, I think what they just watched, it was very twisty. Am I not wrong? And it every
twisty.
Yeah, I mean every episode is like out twists the last.
Well, while we're still on the subject of Penn's twisted approach to his character, we have a fan question from Amanda, and it is for Penn, and it says, "How did you prepare for this role as a mega creep as compared to your other roles?"
Same. Okay, so the one thing that I would say about it that could be, so I'm not like a particularly studied or like technical actor, and maybe it shows, but I very shapeless in my approach, except I think, so forgive me if this becomes too esoteric for a moment, but Elizabeth is like, okay.
Too late.
You're in a room full of actors. It's okay.
And 15 minutes later, but basically that, like, at first I really didn't want to humanize this guy because I was disgusted by him. And I thought, regardless of acting, what is the social level responsibility of a show that maybe stands to have millions upon millions of viewers around the world, or maybe just only in the country so far? What do we need to be this charmed? Do we need to be this sympathetic to and with a person who behaves like that? Is that really what we need? And so I was considering that more than I was like, I could, whatever. But like, what is the actual level of moral responsibility here at the social level? Because, the experience we have is one, but then what it is as a show is something that you can't control, and yet you're still a part of it. So
But is that something that you thought about before?
It is.
The role?
Yeah, it was. It was. It very much was. And for that reason, I was actually extremely on the fence, and in fact, thought I was going to say no at some point because I was like, I'm really compelled by the whole thing, but I don't know about like making this guy human. I don't know about making him charming. Like maybe that's not where we are at. That's not what we need, is to humanize someone like him. And then, maybe in retrospect now, I kind of had to just trust the people around me. Many of them women. One of whom is Elizabeth. The others were the writers and directors of each episode. One of the co-creators of the show, Sarah Gamble. Trusting them and believing them that, like, actually, somehow that making him human is all you can do. And it's the best you can do. It's the most you can do. You can't, And so in retrospect, I think I've recognized that. If I had maybe gone ahead with my first gut and made him this extra eerie kind of inhuman person, it then maybe gives us this idea that there are people who are evil and there are people who are not, and that there's no bridge between the two maybe, and that actually that we only need to worry about the people who are evil rather than understanding that anyone could be miseducated to this point of behavior because we're all human, no exception. So I think that was something I was extremely conscious of, probably problematically so, to a point where sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing or what's right. Did that answer the question?
It did. Way to keep it under 15 minutes.
But that's what makes him so interesting to watch, and you so interesting to watch.
Thank you.
John, we've just gotten a little taste of what Dr. Nikki is like. Can you talk a little bit about how you approached this role, how you got involved in the project, and where you were hoping to go with this character?
Well, it seemed interesting. I mean, first of all, the whole idea of what's happened with social media. I mean, when I first started, well, first of all, you would never say where you live, where you're at, what you're doing. Now it's like, I'm at this restaurant, I'm going to have a dessert in 20 minutes, come kill me, I mean, and you couldn't tell, you said how many likes or how many retweets. Like, I would have to go to the mall to see how popular I was on, General Hospital or something. That's what I mean. So it's, yeah, but so now it's a different world, and I think it's, it's interesting because it's a cautionary tale, really. And it is guys that look like him that probably are the ones you can't trust.
That's also, by the way, I said that. I was not trying to say something about the way that I look. But please go on,
please
go on.
Look at it. It's fine.
So I thought that was all very interesting. And then this character's nothing like I really played. I mean, he's a shrink, and I don't know if anyone goes to therapy here, but usually they're more fucked up than, their patients. And that's what this guy was. And when the first meeting with them,
But he's not more than Joe. I mean, let's be clear.
Yeah, you're right.
He's close, maybe. I mean, he smokes a lot of weed. Fine.
I was thinking of me. My guy's more fucked up than I. And my therapist, he does these cards. He makes these cards and he does these little drawings. So I did that in the show at some point. But I just found that to be interesting. I read the book, and then the script had a guy. They said, well, he might be stoned. I go, in the book, he's smoking pot. So then they put that in these scenes. I think that was in that episode where he's trying to, pot. And then you'll see his life starts to crumble. And I think it's real interesting because he comes to me to get advice, theoretically about her, right? And I think it starts to work. And so he comes to kill me, I guess, right? Hey, right? And then he's, and then I start giving him advice, and he uses it with her, and then it gets pretty twisty.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned social media because we do have a fan question from Vanessa, and she says, for Elizabeth, how has this show made you more mindful about the way you post on social media? Because it sure has made me rethink a lot.
Is that from her or from you?
That's from Vanessa, but this show,
yeah.
When I did binge the first 5, when I watched it, I was like, oh, I should not say where I'm going to be this weekend.
You know what, for me, I never really posted that much to begin with. And if anything, it's made me more proactive. I think because it feels, when you do a job, it comes with the territory because you want to promote the show and that sort of thing. So now when I take a photo, I'm like, oh, is this something that everyone would want to see? And I definitely am like personally combating that inside of myself because it's kind of like how Penn and I would always talk about the show. To what end? And like, to what end am I posting something? Am I like feeding this narcissistic side of me? Am I actually helping my career? Do I really want my career to be based on this?
Yes to all.
Yes.
It is an issue because, you know, I mean, they really do look at that stuff, and then you can always go, well, I'm doing it for, you know, for my career. But then the more you give away of yourself, the more likes you get,
and then the
it's
less
bad.
believable you might be as a character.
Yeah.
The more
you're right,
people
you're right.
feel like they know you. I don't know. These are all theories.
I made the mistake of I was in New York with my baby, and he was about 3 or 4 months at the time, and I picked the right carrier for the right age, the right thing, and I put him in there, and we walked out into Times Square, and I turned him around so you could see his face, and we took a picture. It was really sweet, and I posted it. I got so much baby shaming. He was the wrong way. I said, fuck it, you'll never see my kid again, and that's it, and I was done. So that's I was never gonna do much anyway with him. I never posted any pictures or anything, but I just thought, oh, well, I have a kid now, and people, you know. And so it's that kind of thing too. Did they announce that we were going to be here? By the way, did you guys know? Oh shit! All right. This is, you know.
Elizabeth, let's talk a little bit about Beck, because I feel like with a character like this.
Do they have a metal detector when you walk in? Who does?
I feel like with a character like Beck, there's a fine line between making her endearing and trusting, and then also wildly obtuse. How did you approach this? And it was so nice in this episode that we saw as she turned around and finally realized her boyfriend is stalking her just a little bit. How did you approach this game? She finally caught him.
This is when we break up, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's very similar to Penn's approach, because Beck can come off seemingly very simple and just classic, you know, the classic female in distress or whatever it is. And I just, I was always kind of advocating for her the whole time, advocating for her struggle, for her issues, whatever she was going through, and just like tackling it one by one, which is kind of how Beck has to deal with her life as well. And so I try not to think of it in terms of like, what am I going to make this character be? You know, I can't control how anyone sees her or how the audience perceives her. You know, once it gets in the editing room, it's so out of your control as the actor. And so I just try to get to her truth and the truth of the moment, and just like stand in her story, I suppose.
But so are you guys as actors, are you a fan of watching your episodes back, or would you prefer to just leave it on the cutting room floor?
Anyone want to go?
You haven't seen yours, so.
Well, I have seen. We kind of were watching it as we were filming it, and I would say
We would see like rough cuts.
Director
Stuff
cuts of things.
Technically we weren't supposed to be seeing them. Nobody wanted
Scratch
us to.
that.
No, I mean it's like I think we needed to, because we needed to understand. Like there was a point early on where we were questioning like what
What are we making?
Well, so yes, I mean sometimes it would be so meet cutie, and then other times it'd be murdering people, and then whatever's happening in between, and then the Harvey Weinstein thing happens, and we're like, is everyone cool with what we're doing?
Right.
Okay, just making sure, because it's gonna land on these faces. All right, thanks. We didn't write this, right? You're cool. You okay, cool. All right, we'll keep going. You know, so I think it was necessary for us to see what was happening in order to understand just tonally where the line was being navigated. And so, you know, I mean, so I think for this one, I personally have been watching in a way that I've not done in years because of that. I'm like, what did I do? What have I done? What am I, you know, in just a really curious way, like trying to, you know, like if I see something that I'm like, no, that should. Over the course of an entire season of television, it's very hard to maintain. You can't maintain the sort of way you could maintain a level of integrity in just a single film. Let's say, you know, you've got nearly 10 hours of material there. Shot in a pretty short period of time. You know, the days are long. You got a lot to. It's just you're gonna have points where you're inconsistent, and so I think I was really nervous about that because, like, you know, if you're inconsistent on another kind of thing, okay, fine. You know, for me, I felt because of what I was talking about before at that social level maybe it wasn't right for me to be concerned about it, but I was just like, if I slack at a given point with Joe, fall into my bad habits as an actor, then am I like committing some kind of like worse atrocity by making this guy just sort of like, yeah, you know, just another charming dude on TV?
I was gonna say, it's interesting that you bring up bad habits. Do you find yourselves all as an actor? Do you have bad habits? What are they? I'm curious to know, John. What are bad habits?
I got a whole bag of them. But I'm in the process of getting rid of them. You know, with this character too, I was like, I really did try to like leave all my tricks behind, and they were very specific about like, you got don't, you know. I remember not Greg, but one of the director, producer guys. What was his name? Marco said, no, you can't be funny in this. I said, oh, okay, I won't. And then then they would say this about being a virgin, say this about, and then they had to cut back a lot of the stuff. But I really just tried to sort of try to strip myself clean of it. And I didn't really watch it. I watched they sent me the first one because they wanted me to do it after they'd started shooting. And I was so impressed with the two of them. I said, yeah, I would love to do that. But it's easy to fall, you know, to have tricks, and especially when you're doing theater, you know, you come up with shtick and stuff that you have to lean to, or if you're in front of a live audience. But this was a little more and these guys set a really great tone. They were very serious the whole time, and they were, you know, it was very sort of a calm, and you know, just it was a nice set to try to focus on.
No, I find that interesting. I find for me, like theater, there's the bullshit meter is much higher. Like you can really tell.
No, nowadays?
Meaning
when you go see something live.
More detectable in theater?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In theater, you're saying?
In theater.
Yeah.
Well, it's more detectable. So in film and television, you know, you can hardly move.
You have to wear your pants sometimes.
Right.
You know?
I'm not wearing shoes half
like
the
right in
time.
here.
Well,
nobody knows.
What's hard is, and it's taken me so many years to trust that you're interesting enough, or the script is interesting enough, where you don't have to make faces and do voices and shtick, you know. And I've had some really great material over the years, and I've had some, you know, shitty stuff that you had to make better, and you had to do shtick with, and comedy and babies, you know. So it's taken a long time to distrust yourself, but I think I did in most of this.
For everyone, what is your current creative relationship with the showrunner of this series as an actor and actress? How much creative freedom did you guys have on this show?
Well, that's so. How much creative freedom does an actor have? What is creative freedom? Is it like, hey, can you make this line better? Well, it might not be your job, and also it's subjective. Like they spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of time crafting this, and if you think it's bad, well, you're the actor. The best thing you can do for the material and yourself is just have the courage to actually just say the line. This is what I'm realizing more and more. And you know, within that, is there a lot of work to do? Yes, but it's almost like spiritual work. It's almost like be present. Are you present with your family? Are you present with yourself? Can you sit alone and not look at your phone for 10 minutes? I mean, these are questions that we're all asking, right? Like, and it's relevant. So I think it's about that. I mean, Mehmet even says in this book something that is so consistent with what the only coach I've ever had that I really respected said is like, just say the line. Don't negotiate around what you think would make it. Like, just say the line. And if you think it's bad, say the fucking line. Like, just say it. Don't pause. Don't be charming. Just say you haven't said the line. You know, you're not acting. Or rather, you are acting. And his one book was called How to Stop Acting. And I mean, I think it's brilliant, frankly. I had the most incredible experiences with him, and his wife was able to, even though he seemed to have this inimitable quality, they were such connected souls that she has picked it up seamlessly. And she works still with people like Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz, and with James Gandolfini passed, but you know, Kevin Kline, like some of these really special talents. And
it's having trust. Like I said, you have to trust that you're interesting enough. I mean, you all look like really interesting, cool people. When you go on like auditions and stuff, I mean, because a lot of times, a lot of the work I've done too is where you'll get it down and they'll go, all right, just play with it, have fun with it, you know, ad lib and do that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess that happens. Does that happen in auditions and stuff too? They would say, just do it, or just have. Yeah, there's very specific rhythms of. Yeah.
You say not if it's comedy television? Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much within just saying the line that you can do, but I think I mean, again, I don't want to use like my performance as like a meter of like this is good. So
let's
you
run
should
this again
listen
and
to what I'm
judge
saying.
as he's acting how much
But-
stuff
but-
he's
but I
doing.
feel-
Director cut
There's an
commentary.
eyebrow there.
But I do feel like a lot of the times with this stuff, I wouldn't necessarily know what was better to do, and I'd be like, I'm not sure how to connect to the like. Can I really get into the mindset of a serial killer? Like, let's even wonder philosophically if that's possible as much as we think it is as actors. Like, who are we kidding? You know. So to me, sometimes I just say the line, and whether that was good, I'm not sure.
The good thing is we did have an open dialogue with our showrunners to answer the question.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I was about to circle it back to you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I actually am curious to know, we have Sarah as the showrunner. What was it like for you connecting female to female with a story like this that is about a girl? If we're really breaking it down, this is a story about a girl getting stalked by her boyfriend. Yeah. So what was that like for you to be able to have an open conversation with her and to be able to put your trust in this woman while still playing such a multifaceted role?
Honestly, when I was first looking up the script and thinking about being a part of the project, there was hesitation there because I didn't want to necessarily just be the girl in whatever respect that is, and talking with Sarah and like the rest of our producers, and also like half of our directors were women. I felt like it was being handled by really smart women who I trusted. And even though I was always, I experienced the script and I experienced Beck from kind of an emotional place and a protective place. And I always knew I was being held by them, by that tribe of women specifically, because I knew who they were as artists and creatives. And even though that this story and this show, it doesn't go so well for the females. And this is the question I'm always asking. I've said this 1,000 times, but I'm going to keep asking it just in case anyone here has the answer. Is what kind of art do we make? The art that expresses the truth of our society, or the society in which we hope for? And I think that this is a bit more of the truth, unfortunately. I also think like the time in which we were filming was such a
Super dark.
was a dark time, in the news and whatnot. And so
It's darker now.
right, it is darker now, which makes like every little thing. I mean, for me at least, I'll speak for myself. Like I'm just thinking about it more carefully and carefully. You're thinking like, well, this is going on. Like, can I really be on Instagram right now while this is going on, or can we? And so I think Penn and I were just always just communicated about our hopes and fears and doubts and insecurities. And I think that also allowed us to be free in the scene.
Well, jumping off of that, Carmen, you submitted a really great question. She has a question for the actors. What do you know about acting now that you wish you had known when you began your careers? John, if you could start with that.
Get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Be nice to everybody. I mean, I think I was early on, but like I said, it's taken me years and years to just trust myself that I don't have to make faces and do shtick. Just kind of sort of be confident in who I am. I think, but I'm still learning every.
Elizabeth?
Well, my career is so young. I feel. Honestly, I still feel like I'm very much in the thick of it, in the thick of learning. And I think, especially in your 20s, it's just like a really big douse of humility. And then it's kind of like, well, how can I build myself back up into my confidence that serves so well in this career? So I think I'm just like learning to stay true to myself as much as possible, and hoping for the best. I'm sorry, I don't have any. I feel like my words of wisdom are young.
We'll check back in with you in 5 years.
Yeah. Check back in.
Yeah.
I feel like I've shared, as much as I like I still feel very much learning, and then at the same time, I kind of recognized in this show that I'm somewhat of a veteran at a relatively young age. I mean, I really have been working for 20 years, and It's a work in progress. I think what I was saying before about just saying the line that is something that I'm understanding better and
what did you do? I could say that I'm glad I didn't give up. Like I just kept going, and there's not a lot of young people. There's only middle-aged, and I'm sure you guys do it. You just keep going. You're showing up to these things. I'm sure you're acting. You're going to acting classes. And the beauty too, which wasn't around when we were kids, was you could make your own fucking movie with your phone or with you can write your own thing. And also there's a place for those movies to be seen. I used to make little movies with my 8mm camera, and I'd have to get it developed, and then I'd just show it in my living room, and that was it. But now you can make your own stuff. You have YouTube and places, Vimeo, where you can get this stuff out there. It's a pretty exciting time, I think, and I'm sure all you guys are into that because, right? You can't wait around either. You can't wait around for the perfect job or the perfect audition. Right?
Yeah. It's almost like social media in that way is very helpful for this generation because it's really a platform for you to be able to showcase yourself, but it also can be your detriment if Penn's gonna be stalking you. We are running close to out of time, but I'm just curious to know, for the actors up here, as your characters evolve in this series, what do you want the fans out there to know about what you're bringing it as we approach the final half of the season? I don't know, I really trailed off there.
Just anything we'd like to plug.
It's been a long day, guys.
Yeah, well, there's something there. There's something there to what you're saying.
There. As you approach the end of your character's arc, and obviously I couldn't ask this question to Shay right now because she's no longer with us. As you approached the end of your character's arc in this season, what was your goal?
As we were doing it?
Yeah.
To stay alive. You can't really play to the end of stuff, right? I mean, you just sort of
Yeah, I mean, I was always trying to not do that, and then I would just struggle with. I don't know. I found my stride in the second half of the season. The first half, I was questioning everything, and I was like, I don't know about this. About playing Joe as all of this is. I mean, consider the first episode. I'm pretty sure episode 5.
You've done it.
Episode 5, he bludgeons Peach with a rock, thinking he's killed her. This aired the day after Brett Kavanaugh was appointed. Could you have imagined a worse time? To be, and like, what's more important? Obviously, like, I'm not like, lamenting the fact that our show is coming out at the wrong time. Like, no, but considering like every step of the way, I was becoming more and more concerned. Like, this might be the wrong choice, and like the fact that it continues to not be somehow is really interesting to me. And then the second half of the season, there's way more murders. And I'm just interested. So I was just like, all right, let's just shift it in and go. And so I'm just really interested to see what it is that people think about that.
It sort of goes to the theme, I think, of what is a good takeaway for me anyway of this thing, is that you can't control any of the stuff we were talking about. And you can't control the scene, really. You just got to do your best and keep it clean and simple, like you're saying, and say the lines. And just hope the stuff works and then move on to the next thing, right? I mean, control. I took Jason. I grew up with Jason Bateman, and his career is incredible, and I love him. And I took him out to lunch about a year or two ago. I said, "Well, how do you do it?" He said, "I let go. I just let go. I just stopped caring. I just stopped holding on to trying to figure everything out and trying to control every audition, every meeting, because I just let it go. Took some Lexapro, but it was a great thing, and it takes so much bravery and courage to let go and trust that you're great. But you guys are all great. So just trust that, and you're going to be just fine."
And we will end it on that super positive note. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to my panelists, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.